If you find this podcast a little weird because of its location, it's because it's Vim.
Wherever we are.
A problem. And for you to even say yes to this says so much about you, man.
When I started practicing, I was like, how do I even put this in words? I didn't have words to because a lot of things happen with accidents.
Sure.
As a sculptor, you finding materials, and sometimes you're just like working with multiple things, and then they come together. I'm like, this is perfect. Cast aluminium and granite are not used together. I've figured out a way to put them together in one form. And why did I do it? I don't know why I did it. But then there was this urge to bring things together.
I don't know. For a 30, your parents, when they were 20, they had you. And at 35, your biggest trip in life is how do I get aluminium and
granite
together? What's it like growing up in a house of creatives?
There's many aspects to it. One is I come from a lineage of sculptors who are traditionally trained in temple sculpture. Why is it always something that is statically done and then placed on a pedestal or wherever it is placed?
What can a sculpture become?
If where I come from, and also in the south near the Rayalaseema region, in the Kadapa space, you have a lot of canyons, literally canyons made of stone.
Like the Grand Canyon.
Like the Grand Canyon, but then
not the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, but they're just canyons.
It's a canyon.
It's just a canyon. Come on.
Not grand.
The whole mountain is a solid block, and then wind is basically carving around it. And that's exactly what my sculpture here is. Paths to success and all that. It is. I've also looked at my father's life. He's taking so many risks, putting his family in peril. And I was like, and then he was also like, no, I don't think this is a great. And then somehow it's a long game, just like art world. It's an endurance sport.
Sure.
You cannot you come in today and then tomorrow a gallery comes in and all of a sudden you're a big artist. It doesn't work like that.
What you did yesterday is important.
Exactly.
And defines what you will do tomorrow.
Exactly. Now what I do is, instead of a sketchbook, I have my phone, where I just, if I like a certain form, if I like a certain artifact in a museum, I just go use photogrammetry on my phone, use my LiDAR, 3D scan it, keep it as a data bank, use those 3D models.
Yeah.
Further just combine them, change them, use as inspiration, maybe just 3D print them, keep it as a souvenir, do whatever. I think, imagine, right, the British Museum invites scholars and me as well to do a conference in London, whereas here we don't have enough conferences about talking about our own sculptures. Not enough, I think. This happening, but I'm I was studying in JNU.
Yeah.
I was doing my master's in arts and aesthetics, before which I was doing visual communication. I actually studied design.
Why does this sound like something wrong happened?
After I come back from school or when this summer holidays, he would always bribe me, make this small, 3 sculptures and then you can go play. Is whatever.
What's it called? It's called unpaid labor, no?
It is. Should we wait it? The framing.
This is wild. Do this podcast with you in the middle of
wherever we are.
A problem, and for you to even say yes to this says so much about you, man.
Seriously, I like it.
Huh?
I like it.
So yeah.
Good job.
Hello and welcome to this really tiring but yet fun day. I'm sitting with Harsha. He's a sculptor. He's an upcoming talent in India. And I have a few questions which I had asked him. He refused to answer. And now I feel like he can't go anywhere. So we have a great opportunity. We were going somewhere and we decided to speak for a podcast. We had all the equipment and a little something happened. It's very hot. We are in Kishangarh right now. We're doing this podcast as part of I'm producing an exhibition at StoneX in Kishangarh, and Harsha is one of the artists who is put an amazing sculpture over there. We're going to have a conversation with him about his work. What do you want to have a chat about?
About life itself and the art world and what I do
in the art world.
Yeah, because I'm part of it.
Sure, okay. What's the art world to you?
Many things. But not just my whole life. It's one part of my life.
One part of your life. I have questions.
Of course.
That's amazing, man. So you've been doing this. I mean, you told me you're a farm guy.
So I moved to a farm
Like
5 years
you
back.
don't like the city. You don't like Hyderabad.
It's not liking, right? It's more like a choice of choosing more solitude, choosing a certain space that allows you to do a lot more thinking, a lot more doing. So that's what a farm allows me to do, right? Like just beyond my art practice, I can work with soil. I can grow something that like a lot of things are just common sense, right? Like you don't have to learn, you don't have to do all of these things. You just get into it, start doing it. It feels right.
And you're alone, or you with your partner?
So I have a cousin who also stays in the farm with me, and she moved there 5 years back along with me. And then it was initially friends and a lot of community that we've built up over time.
I don't know this side to you, man.
Yeah,
You have. I know you as a sculptor. Everybody, I mean, you're overexposed in the art space as a, that happy sculptor, that guy who
Right.
who dresses really well and who can dance. I just found out yesterday. You can dance, you got the moves, man. And so you have a city boy vibe, and you're living in the village, and you're sculpting large scale stuff, but you're a young guy. There's so much amazing stuff, such a great blend of talents and things that you can do. I always imagined you as a city boy.
I call myself local citizen. Global, local, thinking really global, doing a lot of international stuff. At the same time, kind of really rooted in the local spaces. I think there's so much dynamism there. There's so much to learn. There's so much to kind of vibe with in that kind of a space. And then, as a sculptor, you just need space, man. Not just seriously, you just
On a ground floor.
on a ground floor. And then you're a forager. You're a hoarder. You kind of pick up materials and then you want to store them. And then I've had days when I actually have to beg other people to store my stuff, when I was in Delhi and when I was in, when I did not have my own space. So what this allows me is the freedom to kind of choose what for somebody else is discarded material, but for me is precious,
Yeah.
So I choose what can be stored and how it is stored and when I will use it and all of that. So it's a thinking ground for me, in many ways. So that's why the move away from the city kind of allows me the expanse of having a space like that.
You've been you're a second generation artist.
Third generation or maybe fourth.
Maybe fourth.
Because
What's it like growing up? What's it like growing up in a house of creatives?
There's many aspects to it. One is I come from a lineage of sculptors who are traditionally trained in temple sculpture. So father was the first one to actually start learning contemporary art, and then he did his BFA and MFA and all of that. And then he did it later in his life. So I was a young child when he was still studying in his fine arts.
Okay.
So I had the opportunity to actually be part of the fine art department and then actually hang out with them, do their portraits, play with them, play with all of that.
It's a good learning.
It was a good learning, and then they would all come back home and a lot of conversations about philosophy, about gypsies, about traveling, about nomadic lives. And everybody, the whole, including the family and the friends and everybody else, was like, we don't care if you just pass. Don't worry about. So that kind of freed me in many ways,
That's beautiful.
And also the guild system, right? Like my kind of father, he also was always helping when he came back from school. So he made sure that I was helping in the studio. After I come back from school or when this summer holidays, he would always bribe me, make this small, 3 sculptures and then you can go play. Or I'll give you 100 rupees, whatever.
What's it called? It's called unpaid labor, no?
It is. No, but
rules don't apply to your creative father.
it doesn't.
No, but you had a fun time. I mean, it's a great thing.
Yeah, I was also crying and cribbing. I'm like, why? All my friends were playing, and then I was there.
Yeah.
So we would have the.
How old was your father when he had you?
20. No, 19 actually. 19. Both my parents were 19. It was a love arranged marriage, and
what do your kids think about this?
my kids.
As a 35-year-old kid, I'm becoming that Sasuma. It's like, beta, bacha karo, beta. No, so you basically, your parents were 19 when you had you.
Yes, yes.
So you have a pretty young mother and father now.
Yes. And actually that helped
Beautiful,
me a lot.
Yeah, 50-year-olds as your parents.
Yes.
So I mean, your mind is younger. They're also younger. You've seen them make multiple mistakes.
Mistakes. Exactly.
That's crazy, man. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. And like, I don't know what to say of it. Like, I don't have a kid. I'm 40, and like, to be 20 and have a child now. My God, I would be a bad parent. Yeah.
No, they were actually literally growing up with me, and I was growing up with them and seeing
That's beautiful.
what was happening, the dynamics of a marriage. And my father, like, I think when I was 8th standard, I got caught with a letter that I wrote to my girlfriend, and then he was like, Harsha, I'll advise, okay, love and all of that is fine, but don't marry.
Don't marry. Wow.
Which I took to my heart, I think.
Yeah. Oh man, you're fine, man. You're total marriage material, man. Now you're a city boy, earning well, sculptor, settle down, live in a village. I think you have a beautiful life. I think you have a beautiful mind also. Let's enter your mind, man. Like what are you sculpting? What is this? I've been reading this one thing everywhere, that you like natural forms, and that you know how the wind crafts organic forms. And actually, this is a perfect setting. Because we are in a desert, and the wind does carve the shapes of mountains, and it's pretty. Is there a scientific word for this?
I don't know if there's a scientific word for it.
Yeah, actually, man, your work is about this.
It is about this, and then this is perfect. Like,
but I feel you're playing safe. Like, you know what? As a sculptor, as an artist, I feel like you have taken you have, as a creative person, all your text is about how the other thing carves something.
Right.
It doesn't speak about, like, that's my one issue with you. Like, you've not said what you feel.
Right.
You've always pitched it as though how the wind carves the external form, and that you find it beautiful. Even I find it beautiful. But that says very less about you. So, like, do you want to say something more about, like, how do you... that's not the right way to talk about your own work, is it? Or is
No, I think the artist takes too much central role in kind of explaining about his work, kind of really creating a strong narrative about the work. Whereas I feel I'm on the periphery, because it's not something that I can clearly describe. It's not a descriptive way of expression, and I feel it's like a mimicking of certain things, right? So that's why I give more homage to where I'm taking the cue from. You know, it's natural. It's really, we can't really put a point to it. It's like the weaver bird, right? The weaver bird just builds. It's not introspecting. It's not doing any other thing. It just builds, and then it's building. It's correcting itself. It's building. There's like a small thing that's happening with the nest, right? As the weaver bird, like, it feels there's a structural alignment towards the left. All of a sudden, it's just finding one more leaf, attaching one more thing. It's doing it so intuitively. And it just has to happen. It has to, like, just flow. And that's where, when I started practicing, I was like, how do I even put this in words? You know, I didn't have words to kind of, because a lot of things happen with accidents. Sure. As a sculptor, you finding materials, and sometimes you're just like working with multiple things, and then they come together. I'm like, this is perfect. But do I actually have a very conscious role in it? Or it's just purely through practice, through rigor, through finding things? You don't know. So I don't want to claim large words, but I'm like, I think through practice, it kind of just evolves, and it kind of talks about itself.
You've always been a guy who works in a studio?
Yes.
And you trained as a sculptor from where?
No, I didn't train as a sculptor. I quit college. I was studying in JNU.
Yeah.
I was doing my master's in arts and aesthetics, before which I was doing visual communication. I actually studied design.
Why does this sound like something wrong happened?
No, it's not wrong. So I actually like to be in JNU for multiple reasons, because I was interested in Buddhist architecture. I was interested in Buddhist sculpture. I was just passionate. I did the whole research on Amravati sculpture, and all of that happened. And then I said, I need to kind of take this further.
What is Amravati sculpture?
So Amravati sculpture is this Amravati School of Art based in Andhra Pradesh, and it's a 2nd century BCE site. It's a large Buddhist stupa, and it's got some of the finest stone sculpture you will see in the relief sculpture side. And it also predates so many more schools of art later, right? Because even Ajanta Ellora much later.
Oh, wow.
This predates all of that. And not just that, the comparisons you can draw.
I think Ravindra Reddy was telling me about this.
Yes, yes.
Because he's also done reliefs as a sculptor. He told me every Indian should go and see this Amravati sculpture. Yeah.
Exactly, right? So we only have the benchmark set for Pantheon, the Greek sculptures. Like, why are we not looking at Amravati sculptures? Like, this idea of like, okay, Renaissance brought in perspective into the Indian, just to art scene, right? I'm like, no, sorry, you look at Amravati sculptures, they had a whole aerial perspective of a stupa in a 3-inch limestone slab with 50 figures and the architecture depicted in like 1 meter by 1 meter slab. I'm like, look at the ingenuity of uniqueness in each slab. There was no like repetition. Like temple architecture today is just repetition.
Yes.
There's a set standards,
Pattern.
there's a pattern, and then you follow that. Whereas they had such beautiful fluidic forms. And
who's done this?
The Satvahana sculptors.
And you know this.
Yeah.
Why is it not famous? Answer the question. You ask the question. Why are we like you ask the question
Because
with such passion? Why do we know only the Pantheon? Tell me, what's the answer? Tell everyone.
The white man's complex.
Okay.
We have everything that's from the Western canon, we feel is much more greater than what we have. And I think the agency now is in our hands, right? The agency is now on us to kind of really
I guess that happens.
to the light.
I think that's what makes the world go round sometimes. There's like, these people are doing this and these people are doing that. I think...
imagine, right? The British Museum invites scholars and me as well to do a conference in London. Whereas here we don't have enough conferences about talking about our own sculptures. Not enough, I think. This happening, but I'm like, why don't we have more?
Also, the general population doesn't come to India for tourism or for anything like how Europe. What is Europe? Europe is just museum shopping or museum hopping. But I mean, it's a great place, but it runs on tourism basically. Like one Van Gogh, they're milking Van Gogh. I was just having a chat with Girish yesterday. They literally milked it. We can do that in India.
Yeah. Like, see, they have a whole marketing strategy, right? Like if you look, so when I was in the British Museum and you're talking to these curators from the Netherlands and all of the Ritz Museum and all of that, they have a central talking piece. They have like one Mona Lisa or one Rosetta Stone, which they've marketed the shit out of that.
Yeah.
So it's a whole PR exercise and
soft power. Yeah,
it's soft power, exactly, cultural soft power, And then why should a Japanese newspaper agency, Asahi, sponsor the Amravati sculptures in the British Museum and not an Indian company? Seriously?
Even the Ajanta Ellora, the restoration was done by a Japanese firm.
Exactly.
Or the government.
The government actually was also part of that. The Ministry of Culture was also part of it. But you're right, there is a shift happening, but it's a very slow shift. And then I'm just worried in the process of the shift, we might also lose, agency over these works.
I guess, I was speaking, I live in Goa. So I once met a guy who came from Greece. And he was telling me that they have a history of exercising.
Right.
Western exercise. And they're like, suddenly... yoga has come over and everyone's just, why aren't we talking about calisthenics? And so I was like, dude, like this happens in the art space all the time. We just are discussing Western art and you guys are we are wondering why aren't we discussing Indian art. It's like he had the same fire. So I was like, and I didn't know that you have this fire about such strong opinions about you're almost like a Indology student.
Not an Indology student, but I'm very excited.
Subscriber.
I'm definitely a subscriber, and I feel very excited when I engage with the archaeology. I really enjoy. I travel to most of the museums. Wherever I go, I've traveled, especially for like this. But then what happened is,
I think you like time.
I like time, and also
passage of time in a work. Yeah, sorry, you were saying.
Also, right, like it kind of gives me goosebumps looking at what they could have done like 3rd century BC. And I think it's just like, my God, I'm like, how did they actually think of it,
They had a lot of time.
They had time, they had patronage.
But they also had
patronage.
Yeah.
Without patronage, they couldn't do it. Like today, 21st century, now, if you do a relief that has fully nude, has breasts and all of that, they're like, no, I don't think it's culturally appropriate. I'm like, sorry, if you have an eyes that do not appreciate the art form, and you're looking at it from a political lens or from any other different lens, you have to stop it. Otherwise, why should you stop it?
Motorbhai, he's talking to you. No, yeah. There are many, you wanted agency, I have power, talk to power directly. So, I understand what you're saying. Eventually now I'm seeing patrons of art are guiding the direction in which culture will flow and vision will flow. Like if an artist is too extreme, they're like, oh, that's too extreme, that's too creative, or it's too liberal. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you mean.
You have to be in a safe space.
No, but
what is your work about? Let's talk about your work. What's your work about?
My work definitely is about
It suddenly became serious.
No, you have. No, that's the thing. Like
you.
So I'll tell you before I talk about my work. I think I should tell you something about. It's about a centipede. There's a really nice fable about a centipede. Centipede's just walking around. It's got these 100 legs, and then an ant kind of just walks past, and the ant is asking the centipede. I'm like, how do you manage walking with 100 legs? I'm like, this is amazing. You're just, I'm like, you mechanically great, structurally amazing. You just like navigate so smoothly. And all of a sudden the centipede looks at its own legs and then just tips over. That's what just happened when you can't really, I think there's a lot of lip service we do. And this is exactly why I like to have a life apart from my own art practice. That kind of just humbles me down.
A life apart from art practice. So you have another side too.
Yeah, where I'm just.
Wow, I had this insane chat yesterday with Girish Shah about like, do you have another identity apart from your art world? He blew me. He blew me away like a poker player. I told you, like,
right.
What's your life other than? I mean, you're a farmer.
I'm a farmer.
But that's basically income tax. You're trying to.
I'm also a triathlete. I love sports. I love swimming. I love cycling. I go for 100Ks. I go for 40Ks.
Seriously?
Yeah, I just finished a half marathon club run last month.
Ironman?
Ironman 70.3 I attempted once, which I did not complete.
It's okay, you attempted it.
But I'm going to attempt again this year.
The Kota factory line is Tayari hi jeet hai.
Exactly. And it's so freeing. It's just freeing. When I'm going on a 40K or 100K cycle ride, it's just so beautiful. I find things. I'm on a podcast.
100K or 10K?
100K on a cycle.
100K is 1 lakh.
No, 100 kilometers.
Oh, 100K.
I was not like
you're going around the earth, dude. Yeah. Okay. So yeah.
So
that's also a lot. I can't do in 3 kilometers.
So Ironman, I don't know if you know, 70.3 is like 2 kilometers swimming in the open water. Yeah. Then there's
I do open water swimming in Goa.
Oh, nice. Yeah. And then I grew up right with the ocean, Visakhapatnam. So I have great affinity for swimming and love for ocean.
Decathlon has come up with prescription lenses.
Lenses, is it?
For swimming.
For the goggles.
Yeah. Not brought to you by Decathlon. But if anyone has glasses with prescription numbers and they want to go swimming, Decathlon has the prescription numbers come out. I have 4 of them because,
I didn't know that, seriously.
It's amazing, dude. I go in the open water with my wife and we go to Goa on the beach and then I can see who's taking my wallet. It's like, hey, mera wallet leke. So, I mean, I have this fear, right?
Right.
Anyways, continue.
No, so
No, your prescription is very important.
It is important, seriously. Yeah, I'm like, I know what you mean, I've had specs for all my life.
Triathlon guy.
I'm a triathlon guy, and it's also, if you look at it, it's an endurance sport, and life is also an endurance game. I don't know how do you say it, but
life is life.
Life is life, and it's a long game, just like art world. It's an endurance sport.
Sure.
You cannot like come in today and then tomorrow a gallery comes in and like all of a sudden you're a big artist. It doesn't work like that.
What you did yesterday is important.
Exactly.
It defines what you will do tomorrow.
Exactly. You have to have the agility to kind of wait for the opportunity. You have to wait for things to happen. You have to wait for the artwork to kind of finish whenever it is finished. You have to wait for the idea to come in. So all these things takes time, and it takes patience, it takes effort. And I feel there's so much to learn from endurance sports. And I just cannot...
But you don't, that when you say you have a life beyond art, you're saying that because, are you implying that the art world is like a little restricted? I mean, your gallerist is watching.
No. I'm actually implying the fact that I've seen people lose their sane minds because they couldn't make it in the art world for whatever reason, because there's so many factors that kind of make sure that you're a successful artist, right? The percentage of successful artists in the art world is just like 0.1% of 0.1%.
Yeah.
And the rest of them have to figure out a way to sustain themselves.
Yeah.
And when you don't do that, you just go crazy.
But that you started your career from a point where you feel like it can go south, it can go bad anytime.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
It comes from your father?
I think
this fear comes from, is it imported or is it?
No, I think it's definitely imported. When I was growing up, I saw my father.
Your dad said, "Don't get married, don't marry." Did he mean to the career?
It's not.
Or to a person? No. The concept of getting married and like legally binding yourself to one thing, and like, is that like?
I don't think if it's coming from. I don't think it's coming from there. But I'm definitely sure he mentioned multiple times not to be a sculptor, not to be an artist in the first place.
What? Why?
Yeah, seriously. And I also for
You're
some
like,
time.
No, I'll become a sculptor. I'll become a big one, and I'll work with a great gallery, and then I'll prove you wrong. And which you're doing, by the way. Look at this guy, man. Yeah.
No, actually, I hated the art world for some time. When I was like, this is so crazy. There's no way of making a living out of it. It's hard work all the way in. There's no clear paths to success and all that.
Rant.
It is. I've also like looked at my father's life. He's taking so many risks, putting his family in peril, you know. And I was like, and then he was also like, no, I don't think this is a great. And then somehow, because of all of that, I ended up liking design a lot more. I actually applied for NID after my plus 2. I couldn't get through, and I was like in different space altogether. Then I said, no. I have something to kind of look at, which is I in my 10th standard, I would take time to actually travel 1 hour to go and study design. So I would learn 3ds Max and Corel Draw and Photoshop. This was like, I don't know why I liked them, but I liked them.
Because they're cool, man.
They're cool.
Yeah.
And they were new.
Yeah.
And I could do so many things. So I had that as a backup. So I was like, okay, now I want to get into design. I'm like, this is...
I mean, it's applicable money-making options.
And it was new.
You like money?
Not money. I like digital tools. I like new things.
Yeah.
And even now I'm using 3D printing. I'm using 3D scanning. I'm using all the new technologies.
You are the other guy other than me who I know, who uses LiDAR and photogrammetry as a stock tool. Like in the museum, you were saying?
Yes.
You were saying in the museum, videography is... What are you saying? You were saying videography is not allowed.
So yeah, now what I do is, instead of a sketchbook, I have my phone, where I just, if I like a certain form, if I like a certain artifact in a museum, I just go use photogrammetry on my phone, use my LiDAR, 3D scan it, keep it as a data bank, use those 3D models.
Yeah.
Further just like combine them, change them, use as inspiration, maybe just 3D print them, keep it as a souvenir, do whatever. I think that just like thinking new, kind of, that those new tools gives you new ways to think.
Yeah.
You know?
And technology is gone like insane.
Exactly.
And the service stuff in the museum is like, video nahi nikalne ka, photo nikal sakte ho. He's doing 10x more.
And then I have a whole white light 3D scanner that's like this huge, and you have to have a laptop, and you have to have permission, you have to apply for it 1 month ahead, and then they won't give you, and they don't understand 3D scanning. You have to tell them it's videography with light and all of that, and then convince them with so many.
That's crazy. Tell me, talk about your work, man. You're like you've not yet come to this one central point. What is your work about? And also, we are at StoneX at Kishangarh, and you've just done. Let me just take this point first, because you've done this amazing sculpture. In what is the marble you used?
It's Pantheon Grey.
Pantheon Grey. And so, what was your like? You want to just, I don't know, thank StoneX, and you want to say something nice or bad or?
No, when Storex first came to me, I said, this is not possible. Like the kind of timeline that we have, it's not possible. But then the good part is, we were already thinking of a commission anyway. So I had an idea, I had multiple maquettes that I've already made for them. So, but then this was not to be made in such a short period for here, but for something else that we were thinking of. So then when the opportunity arrived, I said, I have these ideas, let's just see which one works for us. And then when they said this is going to be in Kishangarh and all of that, and I've traveled to this part of the country like before, Jaisalmer, and I know what to kind of think about when they're talking about this landscape. And I was thinking of the canyons. I was thinking of, because some of my work has this idea of how do you use sound, how do you use the sound of water, you know, these ideas that are not physically manifested, but then how do you use like a metaphoric way to talk about it, right? No, it's an alternative way to think about these things. So I was then we selected this work called Way of Wind, which is basically, if where I come from, and also in the south, near the Varayalseema region, in the Kadapa space, you have a lot of, canyons, literally canyons made of stone.
Like the Grand Canyon.
Like the Grand Canyon, but then...
Not the Grand Canyon. But
yeah, but they're just canyons.
It's a canyon.
It's just a canyon, come on.
Not grand. Because you still haven't, with fire, passionately sold it to us as the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyons of India.
I'm like, they're just beautiful.
Yeah.
They're just like beautiful the way they're just like carved.
I didn't know there were canyons in India.
There's so many. There's actually a even more beautiful one in Orissa as well, which I've not seen. I'm just waiting to see it. Like there's some amazingly beautiful canyons, kind of spaces. The kind of the real inspiration for me there is the structural integrity of these forms. Is just like it's got a narrow bottom and then a very wide top because of the way the wind and the water traveled. Maybe I don't know how they've traveled, but over millennia, over centuries, right? And that's only possible if you're doing it in situ, right? In situ, I mean, like when the whole mountain is a solid block and then wind is basically carving around it. And that's exactly what my sculpture here is. You know, you'll see like a very thin narrowing down of the sculpture and then opens up and then there's a lot of hollows inside, you know. And then that hollowing kind of, it's almost like creates an echo if wind passes by. I don't know what it will do, but I wish we could find it out when there's a lot of wind and all of that.
You've not done marble before?
I've not done marble, but I've worked with sandstone. I've worked with marble in a different format. So I normally use like marble slices. I use like thin marble slabs and then cut profiles out of it and then stack them to create the form. So I've worked with like different sandstones. I've worked with Jaisalmer sandstone. I've worked with granite. I worked with different kind of stones, mostly sandstone actually. But this is one of the first times I'm actually working with white marble in a monolith form.
I was like really amazed by like when a younger artist is given such an expensive piece of stone, you know, do you get like anxiety? Like, do you get
no.
Like, you know, like I'm asking all the artists a few stock questions, like how do you, because I mean younger audiences and people who want to get creative,
right,
they get like writer's block, and you know, people get like freaked out. It's like you're just staring at the typewriter or the keyboard or whatever. They don't know what to write about. I want to like just like punch you a little bit. I want to be like, I don't know what your work is about. You know, like the way you speak about your work. I feel like, you know, every artist that, I mean, I interview a few people, so they kind of have like this kind of like surety about that the ideas come from their mind.
Right.
You kind of like have this coolness about you where you're like, yeah, nature really inspires me. And it's that, which is something that I'm like, I was hoping that you'll like, for the art world gimmickry, you'll, you know, like modify it, but you're just putting it out there naturally.
Yeah, I think sometimes my brutal honesty is not going to work well. No, but I'm saying it kind of changes. Like earlier I was very clear of what the ideas were, but then I realized then I'll also be fixed in silos. I will not be able to kind of do new kind of formats of figuring out what else can happen, because some of the ideas are very clear, like, they don't need explanation a lot, like say column of sound, where I'm just using sound as a, the spectrogram of the sound, literally kind of translating it into a sculptural form so that people can actually tactilely touch it. There's not literally a lot of explanation needed.
Oh yeah, it's like a spectrogram, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a spectrogram. And there the idea was, how else can I actually redefine what sculpture means? Like, why is it always something that is statically done and then placed on a pedestal or wherever it is placed?
What can a sculpture become?
Why can it not be dynamic? Why can it not be reactive to that or responsive to the site that is? And that's exactly, metaphorically, I was always like, say right now, right? You hear that bird, you might be hearing a small whatever, there's a soundscape for this specific land, right?
Yeah.
And then I would always record a 1 minute bite, use that to inform the sculpture slices. So I've got like an extra set of slices that I always change. So what metaphorically I'm insisting is that every time the sculpture changes place, it's actually reacting to that site. So that was my way of pushing what sculpture means. And from there, the practice slowly started shifting. I also was always trying to kind of stack, and something that I've always realized, I like to bring materials together.
And but you also, when you say bring materials, you have multiple different materials.
Definitely. So my earlier work was like metal and stone. Then there was metal and stone sandwiched vertically. Cast aluminum and granite are not used together. I've figured out a way to kind of put them together in one form. And why did I do it? I don't know why I did it. But then there was this urge to bring things together.
I don't know. For a 30, your parents, when they were 20, they had you. And at 35, your biggest trip in life is, how do I get aluminium and
Granite
together?
And
you're tripping on art.
I'm not just tripping on art. I'm also allowing people to perform with my sculptures. That sculpture that I was talking about.
Why is this important for you? To perform it. Multiple younger artists now I feel like there's fatigue in the sculptural world. It's like, pata hai humko, static sculpture hai. So many younger artists, they're like, they want to have these assets now. They want to add sound, vibrations, motion. Because technologies, around them are like really exciting. They're really exciting.
It is exciting, and that's this sculpture that I was talking about, Selfish Love.
Yeah.
Actually has it's hollowed out from inside. It's a larger than life sculpture. It's completely hollowed out. And I wanted people to peep inside. I actually have a prompt underneath the sculpture saying, please peep inside. And people would put their heads inside. So I also have a video that I've actually posted in my website where I'm actually peeping inside the sculpture and then coming out and then walking away. And this is an action of performativity that almost adds and then completes the sculpture for me. And I think this is coming from my upbringing, my time in Delhi, where I was completely attached and completely inspired by what is happening around me. The performance art scene, like in the Salim and everybody that was like the coach. I was staying right behind coach for almost 2 years, and every event that was happening, I was just there, and something felt right. Something felt new, something felt exciting.
You care about the art world so much that you're ready to invest your whole life for these few 2,000 people?
It doesn't have to be.
You know what I'm saying?
I know what you mean, but I think
fine. Like, I mean,
you're actually very right, and actually that's what performance art does, because performance art doesn't just cater to a sanitized art world. We're doing it in the public spaces where there is no informed audience, and they are just reacting like, is this a YouTube prank, or is it a video, is it a short film, is it a music video? Yeah. And they're just beautiful conversations.
You're a performance artist also. You started off as performance.
I started off as performance artist.
What were you doing?
I was doing performance art.
What were you doing? I was doing
in the public spaces, and it was super exciting. It was a great space to hang out with artists, come together, share your bodily kind of activities, conceptual ideas, pushing boundaries, really looking at your vulnerable side, other artists kind of expressing nudity, or it could be, it could be more emotional as well. It could be a community based performance art where the community kind of the audiences in that space are informed and part of that very performance art. It was so much more freeing. It was so much, there was no okay, I have to get a great image and then sell it in the gallery. There was none of those conversations. It was just art, purely for art's sake, purely for the passion of just coming together and creating something. And it was also freeing you from your inhibitions of being an artist. Being a sculptor means so many more things, like, oh, you always cribbing about, oh, I don't have this material, I don't have this money for making this sculpture, I don't have money to whatever, whatever limitations. And here there were no limitations. Here you just thought of an idea.
Yeah, your body is your...
That's it. So it kind of helped me think fresh. It helped me, it also made me more eclectic. It also made me more erratic and kind of freed me. I was not afraid of being weird.
That's a big one.
It was very important.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're stuck, right? You're just literally, you're in a silo. You're like, okay, oh, I'm an artist. I'm thinking of this idea. It has to be made like this. It has to be displayed like this. The lighting has to be like this. Like fucking in Delhi, you're on a street and in Mandi house, and then there's like 100 workers who are working for the metro project, and they are your audience. There's no way I could control what's going to happen. Someone might come and say, stop it, get out of this, this is crazy, you've got a skeleton right next to you and then you're playing with it, what the fuck are you doing? And then it was important to, it kind of humbles you down. I think it humbles you down.
It humbles them.
It shocks them. It shocks the hell out of them.
What am I doing in my life that guy is tripping on with a skeleton? No, but aren't you having conversation with them?
That's the thing, right?
I find performance art, like I find it cryptic.
Right.
And the older I'm getting, I want more surety. I want more stability. I'm not too open to experimentation. I kind of like found my brand of art that I like.
Right.
And I try to, the core reason I do podcasts is to challenge myself. It's the super core reason is to kind of like have a software update through conversations.
Right.
Through portraits, to this act is a very creative exercise for me. And so I want to understand if you yourself are feeling that it's weird for these people at a core, as the performance artist itself, then I feel that the people might be also feeling the same way. And then, right, you can't justify that. Then people will be like, what is Yoko Ono doing, shouting? You see the memes, right?
Yeah.
But Marina Abramovich, people find it damn sensitive for some reason. Yeah, which it is. Both are equally sensitive, maybe. But just, I mean, the way it's been put out in the world is that. So if you're doing like random stuff which without any context, then I guess it gives the whole field a bad rep.
That's what I'm saying. I think we overthink these things. In the larger timeline of an artist's career or generally in life, it really doesn't matter. You might find a gem, you might find a beautiful idea, and then it kind of resonates with your public, with your audience, with the art world. But for that to happen, you have to allow all these stupid things that will happen.
Wow. Do you read Marcus Aurelius?
Yeah.
Meditations.
For sure.
Sounds like that.
No, because if you look at the largest scheme of things, this is so minuscule. Each of your artwork, we think too much about it. And then if you look at what the music world, the other aspect of the creatives are talking about, they're like John Lennon se leke everybody, they're just spitting artwork after artwork. They're just spitting song after song. That is the only way you can actually get to somewhere. Yeah. One of their best albums happened overnight. Yeah. They actually had 4 albums. I don't know if you've seen the documentary. They had 4 songs already, but they had to have 2 more songs. They're like, Lennon was like, I have to have 2 more songs. Whatever we do it.
Yeah.
We spit it out.
We are pros. Yeah.
So I'll tell you one more analogy.
Like
that
this.
Like this.
Like this.
Exactly. Like, so the one more analogy that I always kind of was trying to find ideas, like how do I inspire myself? Then there was this analogy of a sports guy, right? How does a sportsman keep himself motivated. The reason it kind of is satisfying for them is because they know it's going to stop. Every match, it's going to start at for like whatever 8 a.m. and it's going to end 12
There
p.m.
are
It's
boundaries. There
are boundaries. They're limited. It's done.
There is
Over.
set rule.
Done.
Yeah.
Move on to the next match.
Play exists within that time zone and within those parameters.
Exactly. And then you move on.
But you're saying in the art world?
In the art world, we have the opposite, which is going to kill us. Like just staring at one artwork, like, okay, this is going to take me 2 years. I'm going to perfect it and then kind of launch it. By then, the world has moved on. You've moved on. You're not. The idea kind of originated 2 years back.
Yeah.
You've moved on as a person. The world has moved on. It's no more contextual. Maybe whatever. Just make your bloody art and put it out there.
Fast. Instantaneously.
Yeah, seriously. I've seen artists.
But you work fast, man. There must be some.
Of course, I'm saying.
Guy or girl out there who is like going on snail mail, feeling very sensitive, writing letters in hand to somebody, and it takes like 20 days to reach the letter, and that's their practice. There are different kinds of people.
There is subjective to.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
What I am saying is put it out there, finish it, move on to the next artwork. And that's what we've seen all the artists do.
Yeah.
Be it musicians, be it composers, be it
the pros.
Yeah, I think the quantity really matters.
Would you rather be a competitive artist, like a professional grade gallery artist, or free, the guy who's Harsha, who's in the farm, who's kind of like listening to his own thoughts and like making changes based on what you actually want? Or would you rather be the professional corporate artist who kind of like delivers because somebody wants to buy your artwork, and then you create a factory and then you kind of like make? What kind of person do you want to be? And it's okay if you don't want to answer this because you're so young right now. I don't want to have you say something on camera or as a document that kind of like spoils your the future.
I don't think. I really don't think too much about all of these things. But I think I definitely have an entrepreneurial side to my art practice, where I feel there is so much you could do.
Yeah, I feel you take risks.
I definitely take risks, and it's also
you had written. You take risks.
Yeah, it's also something to do with how do you. I want these voices to be heard. I want like my work to be across different platforms, wherever it has to be. But at the same time, I feel I need to find a balance in between these two worlds, where I feel there is, just like how we were talking about agency earlier, right? Like in terms of antiquities and all of that. I think the same applies for the contemporary art field. Like, you look at the Chinese artists, man. Look at 30, 35-year-old, what they're doing. It's because they've believed in it, because they've taken the risks, they've done what needs to be done. And I think we have got that opportunity here, and we have to have the balls to kind of be there. And
but they also have patronage, and they also have.
I think it will come. It's you can't just wait for things to happen. You have to rise to that occasion, create what needs to be done, and I think we will have the patronage fall in place. That's what my belief is, because I see everybody kind of really only wanting to bitch over the art world, especially like in a country like ours. We're like, oh, we've not.
What do you think of the Pakistani art scene? Are you following that?
Not so much.
Kick-ass, man.
Is it?
Amazing. Chinese artists are amazing. Pakistani. I mean, when you see Indonesian artists and all.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like a subtle protest vibe.
Yeah.
Which I feel in India is now. I mean, like, I don't know how to say this. I've never been like silent or anything, but I just feel like the Indian, I'm gone for so many art fairs now.
Right.
I just feel it's becoming a little
complacent,
shallow, and I feel it's becoming a little plastic and a little superficial. Like people are just mimicking themselves now. I think that's not because of the artist actually. That's because of the general public's want. They want to kind of like, the patron is not, the general population is not pushing the art scene.
Right.
Like there's no craving for creative stimulation. I think also the Instagram, the way people are getting ready together. My whole Instagram account is like completely just like one wrong video and like the algorithm is completely like just girls changing clothes now. It's crazy, man. I'm not getting any art anymore on my Instagram. I used to. My Instagram was only art history, and curatorial stuff and like
There is a word for it.
what is it?
It's called attention specificity. Earlier, we had different ways of looking at how art was made. For that kind of century, for that kind of time zeitgeist, right? Zeitgeist. But now we're actually in the attention specificity. Era, where be it performance art, be it visual art, we're all looking at what is the most Instagrammable form, image, curation, that visual that we're going to create, And I think even performance art, right? Like what happens is eventually it's cut down to like 30-second reels, and then the most craziest
It's
action.
getting crazier and crazier.
It's going to get crazier and crazier because people want.
As a sculptor, as an artist, what are you? You're going simpler and simpler?
I don't think so.
In the age of AI, what do you think? Like, there's a need for becoming more human now.
I definitely feel there is a more need to become human, but it's also not just that. It's the other aspect to it is it's one more tool in your hand, in a glove box that you can actually also pick up and then just use to quickly iterate ideas and then just put it out there and then kind of, because see, especially as a sculptor, I still have to actually do something,
You have to do something.
It's not just an image that I can work with, right? So even if I'm just ideating around,
you have to like
actually get the materials, actually carve it out, maybe cast it, maybe carve it, maybe
it's
I
not
don't know.
instantaneous.
It's not as
You
instantaneous.
have to go shopping to buy cement and
Whatever
the
that
process you're thinking about. You're thinking, is this a bad idea? Right?
So that the bad idea, if it's a bad idea, not only reveals itself after the actual sculpture is made. That's exactly why it's painful. But that's exactly why we're not in a field. Like say there's a very interesting thing that I've heard from somebody, especially from the design community. He was like, "You're not a pilot. You're not a driver. Even if you do a mistake, nobody's dying." It's not a serious feel like that way. You just make your art.
जिस थाली में खाते हो उसी थाली में छेद कर रहे हो. No, you sound a little pissed off about something in the art.
About what?
I'm getting a sense that you're ranting. What is happening? Are you?
It's not ranting. It's just
No. It's interesting because I had this feeling when I was your age.
Mm-hmm.
We share many values.
Right.
From the entrepreneurial side, right? And I'm just like worried about also the kind of person that watches this content or will watch this content will be at this point in their life because they know that I create this kind of content.
Right.
And so you're saying exactly the right thing, honestly. So I'm not like saying.
Right.
But I want to know personally what is happening with you as a sculptor, as a young contemporary artist in the world right now. Because this money topic and this like frustrations that are there, not many people talk about it. You're being very candid with me.
No, I really want a lot more conversations to be shared, and I think because see, look at how we're. So I really feel we need to have a lot more open conversations about the art world, especially about money and how because I have a lot of juniors coming to me and asking about how did you work with a gallery, how did you end up being part of international exhibitions. I said I just started finding opportunities. I started finding open calls. They're just merit based, right? You don't have to convince somebody of your work. You don't have to ask for references. You just shoot out an email, create professional portfolios.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that a lot of young artists do not learn while they're just finishing their fine arts, is how do you basically organize your artworks as a voice, as having a website, having whatever you're putting out there, document things well.
They don't see themselves as a business. They see themselves, they have an attitude problem. They look at themselves as as doers,
but it's
they don't want to be sold. And then if they start selling, they say, "Oh, he's
like big cow, whatever."
Yeah, like that's like such a weird thing.
But I think you should not. So I was asked to talk about my practice at the HCU campus, and then I was by the end of it. So they saw the whole transition of me being a performance artist to what I'm doing right now, which is very material oriented and it's very objectified kind of practice, right? And I said, it's completely perfect for me to have this transition, because now I have a studio, I have a liability, I have studio assistants, I have a whole career, I have a whole art business that is running on this. And it's perfectly all right for us to balance that. And we should not think of ourselves as, okay, we just creatives, we are not having any of these conversations. I'm like, most of our time goes on documentation, writing about artwork, creating invoices, creating logistical paperwork, creating packing, shipping, talking to logistical person, because I don't have 10 people under me who can also do the admin work for me, which is something that I have to do. I have to learn how to pack each of my sculptures. And I'm learning them online. I'm finding ways. I'm breaking one of the sculptures and I'm figuring it out. We don't have that kind of infrastructure. We have companies that are just shipping A to B, but only after a certain stage, when you work with good galleries, is when you get the access to good logistical partners. Till then, you have to figure your things out. And then nobody's doing workshops on how to pack art. Especially like in India, like it's not like you can go to a...
Are you victimizing yourself?
I'm not victimizing myself. I'm saying we have to learn these things, accept that we have to upskill ourselves. Understand how to invoice. Understand the basics of what is the difference between a performance invoice or the performer invoice and an invoice, If you don't know these things, then you're being exploited by, clients or galleries or whoever, Especially I'm not saying that's the way it is, but I'm saying, like, let's just learn and let's just accept that you're also running a business, then you have to be part of that. And then if you do not know, I've seen a lot of artists, especially from my father's era, they've just become teachers, and they're so regretful of their life. They're like, oh, we couldn't make it. And also because if you look at the ones...
I have that feeling.
And if you
I'm fucking doing YouTube, man.
No, like, this is amazing. This is the next... it feels like that, but once there's a progression, it kind of just shoots up like that.
The addiction of becoming an artist was so strong in all of us that when it doesn't happen, you get dark thoughts, man.
Yeah, you do get, and that's exactly why I'm saying...
That's why I'm asking you this question, because you're saying everything that, and I hope you don't do what I did, which is... I hope you make it.
No, we have to figure out ways to financially sustain our practices. Always have something that kind of make sure the studio runs. Otherwise, your practice will stop somewhere because of the financial implications that it will have. So figure out a way to balance your art and career.
Wow, this became a financial became a financial guru, Harsha.
I'm not financial guru, but I'm saying if you want your art practice to continue for a longer duration, figure out a way to sustain your finances. That's it. Whatever needs to be done.
Says the guy whose father told him don't become an artist. I'm going to wrap this up. You good? You want to say anything?
No, I'm good.
Anything I didn't ask you?
Yeah, you just ask me whatever.
No, anything I didn't ask you.
You didn't ask me.
The camera, it's super hot right now. I'm sorry guys, we have to cut the conversation short. I mean, it's like been 40 minutes. But we have to cut it short because the temperature over here is really high and the camera is heating up. I don't want to damage my tools. So in a way, I just want to say I had a great chat with you. And it's pretty hot now. I think I'm dying. No, this has been a really fantastic podcast because he agreed to do this in the middle of the sand dunes, and we had a small technical error and we kind of like maximized it and we used it to our advantage. If you find this podcast a little weird because of its location, it's because it's Vim. No, I said let's do this podcast like because we have an hour. Our driver is now coming back, and with some petrol, with some whatever, some technician. So we said let's just do it. Let's wing it. And I really hope you see the whole thing, and I hope you watch the whole thing and learn something from Harsha. Thank you so much. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.